And good, bright, and beautiful morning. Let's see if everything's working. Looks like it is. Hard to say, except for we're on the wrong camera. So let's put the right camera on. Good, bright, and beautiful morning. My name is Kimberly Mann, if this is your first time here. And we are studying the book of Genesis here at Easy Bible Study. Our goal is to make sure that you are able to access God's Word easily, quickly, and that you're getting kind of some of the basics down. Now, I don't expect that you don't know as much as I do. You might know just as much, but I really enjoy having you here, and it's lovely to see you anytime you are able to come. Some people have asked recently, like, where have you been, etc. So I'll tell you guys, been on a little bit of a vacation, started to do a vacation, and then we had a car accident. And then, or not we, but my husband had a car accident, and I kind of handle all of that side of our life. And so my vacation turned into not so much of a vacation. So taking a few extra days off on this vacation. That's the great thing about YouTube and about being a content creator, is that when life kind of throws you a loop, you can kind of, take a breath, and be able to do that. So I think we are back. We will be live some days because that's how our life is right now, a little bit crazy. But so today we are live. However, some days we're just going to there'll be a video here at 7 a.m. and I will just drop it so that you have it there. And it'll be like a live premiere so that it does kind of clue you in, and it does kind of notify you that we are here and ready to start. So today, however, we are in Genesis 37. So grab your notebook, grab your Bible, and let's get into it, because Joseph, you know what they say. That's where we're starting today. All right, be right back right after this.
You can have all this world, but give me Jesus. In the morning when I rise, in the morning when I rise, in the morning when I rise, give me Jesus.
And once again, welcome back. And if you do find any value in the content today or any other day, do me a favor, although my scripting stuff is not working this morning, so give me a second. Let's try this. Do me a favor, click like, subscribe here. Right there, that one. Yep, right there. Do me a favor, click like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any of the content. The notification bell is really important because that choice that you make on that notification bell, and when you click on it, it should give you an option of, do you want to be notified all the time, most of the time, none of the time? Okay, so if you don't want to be notified, that's fine. But if you do click it, you want to click all the time, because honestly, it still doesn't always notify you every time, even when you click that. So if you do want to be notified when we put up new content, turn on that notification bell so that you don't miss any of the content. I have been putting shorts out, although that's been a little bit delayed. And I will go back to that probably in September. We're just kind of building up some of the general content, and then we'll be doing reels or shorts or whatever you want to call them again. Starting back up in September. But we are going to be doing our lives every morning, or our dropped video every morning, depending on our schedule. If I have to go, basically when I go live, it's because I don't have time to pre-record based on my schedule. And so I'm forcing myself to go live instead. So here we are. Today we are talking about Joseph, and let's get into it. We are in Genesis chapter 37. I cannot believe we're already in chapter 37. That leaves us with only 13 chapters left in the book of Genesis. So knowing that means we're looking at sometime in September, probably, we're not probably, definitely sometime in September, we're going to be switching, and I need you guys to help me pick. So should we continue the story of all of these patriarchs and the story of Israel and go into Exodus? Or I'm actually thinking I kind of want to hit one of these, like, women of the Bible, because we haven't done one of those yet. And heck, I am a woman, so I do kind of like hitting the women of the Bible as far as things. So I'm thinking Ruth, Esther, something along that line. And I mean, totally different time period, although Ruth, not as much as the others. So, give me some feedback. Drop a comment below. Which book of the Bible do you think we should do next? I will put up a poll in the next couple of weeks when I kind of finalize my top 4, what I'm thinking about doing. And the nice thing about if we do Ruth or Esther is we will only be in them for a short time, and then we'll be back to whatever else that you guys want to do. So keep that in mind. And of course, we always have Wisdom and Worship Wednesday, although yesterday we did not have a broadcast at all. But let's get into God's Word today. We are in Genesis chapter 37. And so let us do this. If I can do this right. Forgetting all my stuff. Here we go. And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah, and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all of his brethren, they hated him, and could not speak peaceably unto him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us, or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren. And his father rebuked him, and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee, to the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the saying. All right, so let's get into this a little bit. This is, let me check something out here. All right, we'll do that. We'll just hit that. This is kind of a tough section. Not a tough section, but let's talk through some of the words here. First of all, there's a couple of key words. And one of the key words here is the word obeisance. And we're going to talk about that. Obeisance means to obey, to bow down in a way that shows reverence and obedience to that person. So in these dreams that he's having, now, it's really interesting that, okay, so let me just tell you a quick thing. So one of I'm really into musicals. I love musicals, love musicals, love musicals. And one of my all-time favorite musicals is Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat by Andrew Lloyd Webber. If you have not seen it before, I'm actually going to play a clip, the Coat of Many Colors one, in a bit here. But if you've never seen it, you absolutely should, and it is on YouTube, so you can actually find it and watch the entire thing. Just clip by clip, basically, is how it is. And it's the original with Donny Osmond. Now, that was part of the reason that I loved it, because I was much younger, and I am of the generation that, Donny Osmond was the heartthrob. So don't judge me. Just take it for what it is. But the other reason is because Andrew Lloyd Webber, as far as I'm aware, is not a Christian in any way, shape, or form. He certainly wasn't at that time in his life. And yet, while he got the theme of Joseph wrong a little bit, in that he says that the theme of Joseph's life is that you can do anything you want. It was an empowerment theme, is what he thought. Like, you can dream something up, and when you dream it, it's going to come, you can make it come true. And that's not what the Bible is about. So if you are familiar with that particular play, do not think that it is in any way what God was saying in these passages. The dreams that Joseph dreamed, because he did dream a number of dreams. These are only two of his dreams. The dreams that Joseph dreamed were not about his own self-exaltation. Are we going to see him being exalted? Yes, but they were not about himself. They were about what God had in his plans. They were foretellings. They were prophecies. But they were not about Joseph wanting this for himself. So if you have seen Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, you do need to pull that out. One of the reasons I can enjoy it is because I do understand the story, and I love the fact that it introduces people to a character in the Bible, and that it doesn't go away from it. Most of it does line up with Scripture, except for the theme of the whole thing is not about him accomplishing things in his life and him wanting to be this accomplished person. That's wrong. That's not what it's about at all. So that's thing number one. Thing number two is that it is true, however, that Jacob loved Joseph. Now remember, why did Jacob love Joseph? Well, if you remember going back, Joseph was the son of Rachel, the first and only son that was actually Rachel's. So the woman that Jacob loved more than anything else in the world, this was her firstborn son. And it really comes down to that. Now, Jacob also, and he doted on him and he loved him, and he just exalted him himself as if he was the most important. So at the beginning of this chapter, we see, and Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. All right, so we know where they are. And let me see if I have the map here. I kind of do. Let me pull this up. And actually, we need to change this out because hold on, let me find the new map, because we did have a different map. Oh, where did it go to? Abram, this. Oh, that's right. That's what I did. I forgot. It was a web browser thing. So here we go. Not YouTube, but the map, right? Okay. Let's see if this works. This may not work. Oh, yep, it does work. Okay. So let's change this position a little bit. Let's take this off. Let's go to this camera right here. And let's go to this. But we're going to crop some of this stuff in. There we go. Let's crop some things in. And let's pull some of this down. All right. So here we are. Whoops, let's not crop that in so much, I guess. So this is where we are in this passage. Okay? Let's move it over so you can see. All right, Jacob sends Joseph to see how his brothers are. This is where they are. They are right here in Mamre, in Hebron. Right here, smack dab in the middle of Canaan. Let's see if that's showing up for you guys. Yeah, you see where it says Mamre and Hebron there, Hebron? That's where they are. They are smack dab in the middle of that. And that is where they are when he sends them up. Now, they are not anywhere close to this area. So that's why it says, right, that he sent them. Let's see here. So there are the generations of Jacob, Joseph being 17 years old. So Joseph is only 17 at the time, right? And was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah. Remember, these are the other two wives, or the concubines, that Jacob took to wife. The concubines are the servants, the maidservants of Leah and Rachel, Bilhah and Zilpah, and they birthed children to Jacob as well. And so they were out Now, they would have been given lower status anyway, just because they were not actually wives. They were the concubines, basically wives. They were the maidservants who became wives, not the actual wives. And so, when it says they took them to wife, it means more like he slept with them and made them of somewhat of a wifely status, but they were still servants to Rachel and Leah. They did not lose their servanthood just because they also were able to bear Jacob children. And so he was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now, this right here is saying, when it says their evil report, what he's saying is that he's actually telling his dad, he's snitching on his brothers. His brothers are not doing what they should be doing. His brothers are acting up. They're not behaving themselves properly. And Joseph goes back to his dad and says, Dad, look, yeah, I'm out with the guys. We're out in the field and they're not behaving well. We don't know exactly what it was that they were doing. We don't know if they were sleeping around with Canaanite women. We don't know if they were cheating people when they were selling off sheep. We don't know if they were abusing and misusing the sheep and the flocks themselves, or maybe they were just being lazy and being neglectful. We don't know exactly what it was that Joseph brought to his dad, but it does say an evil report, meaning they were messing around. They were doing things they shouldn't have been doing. And so now, and he goes, now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children because he was the son of his old age. And he made him a coat of many colors. All right. So let's take a look. This is where we're going to have a little bit of fun today. Oh, I just realized because I was in a different part of this. Let's see. Web browser. This one, I think, yep, there we go. And let's get this on deck. Not now. And let us watch a little bit of fun and talking about this coat of many colors. This is how Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat does it. And this is, I'm going to show you where this comes from. But this is from, what's it called? The Shows Must Go On. That's the original where it came from. And now I just realized we need to go back. There we go. Oh, now it wants to play an ad. So give a second, guys, and I will get this up because this is we're just playing this from YouTube. The Shows Must Go On is where you can find the entire, if you want to watch Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. So lots of fun. All right, here we go. Ready? And let's merge this over. Let's expand this out. And let's hit play.
Joseph's mother, she was quite my favorite wife. I never really loved another all my life. And Joseph was my joy because he reminded me of her.
Through young Joseph, Jacob lived his youth again, loved him, praised him, gave him all he could, but then it made the rest feel second best. And even if they were
being told we're also rats does not make us Joseph fans.
but where they have really missed the boat is
We're great guys, but no one seems to notice.
Joseph's charm and winning smiles failed to slay them in the aisles, and their father couldn't see the danger. He could not imagine any danger. He just saw in Joseph all his dreams come true.
And this part is true, very
To
much.
show the world he loved his son, to make it clear that Joseph was the special one. So Jacob bought his son a coat, a multicolored coat to wear.
Joseph's coat was elegant, the cut was fine.
And we don't know exactly if the coat was
This is why it caught
This.
the eye. A king would stop and stare, and when Joseph tried it on, he knew his sheepskin days were gone. Such a dazzling coat of many colors, how he loved his coat of many colors. In a closet
And we don't know exactly what colors it is because it just says it was a coat of many colors in the Bible.
Brothers weren't too pleased with what they saw.
We have never liked him all that much before, and now this coat has got our goat. We feel life is unfair.
And when Joseph graced the scene, his brothers turned a shade of green. His astounding clothing took the biscuit.
Quite the smoothest person in the district.
I look handsome, I look smart. I am a walking work of art. Such a dazzling coat of many colors. How I love my coat of many colors.
It was red and yellow and green.
And this is just part of the production part where they have all the kids in a school watching the play of Joseph,
I look
and then they join in, of course.
I look smart. I am a walking work of art. Such a dazzling coat of many colors. How I love my coat of many colors. It was red and yellow and green and brown and scarlet and black and ochre and peach and ruby and olive and violet and fawn and lilac and gold and chocolate and mauve, cream and crimson and silver and rose and azure and lemon and russet and gray and purple and white and pink and orange and blue.
And I do want to give credit here to The Shows Must Go On, because this is actually from their channel, just sharing it with you guys. So definitely go check it out if you want to see the whole of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. The whole of it is here in little bits and pieces, pretty much. So the reality is, though, let's see, let's get back to this and take this off. There we go. Don't need two of me, do we? All right, so here's the reality. The reality is, yeah. The reality is that we definitely know that Joseph had a Technicolor Dreamcoat. We know that there was some kind of a colorful coat that Jacob gave him, and it was full of lots and lots of colors, okay? So it was the son of his old age. He made him a coat of many colors, and here's the thing. Already Jacob is saying, yes, I love my son. He's amazing. He's awesome. He's all these things. You need to pay attention. And they didn't like him because he went and told on them. Then Jacob goes and gives him this coat, and it says, and then they hated him and they could not speak peaceably about him in verse 4. They couldn't. It says they just couldn't even bring themselves to talk nicely about him. That's how bad it was. So there was nothing that they said about him. And then it says, and now it goes on. So as if Joseph's life wasn't already bad enough. It goes on and says, and Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And what's the dream? He says, well, I pray, here's what I dreamed. So here's the thing. He dreamed the dream, and it's because he told them what the dream was that they hated him even more. And he says, I pray you this dream. Hear this dream. He's like, we were binding sheaves in the field. So basically they were binding up bundles of wheat in the field. That's what the sheaves are. And he goes, and lo, my sheaf arose, because normally sheaves, they would just lay them on the ground. So you bundle together a whole bunch of wheat, whole bunch of stalks of wheat, and you would be taking them then to the threshing floor and taking out, beating the wheat off of the stalks. So this is like a great big bundle. Like a bundle. And normally they'd lay them down, and that way you'd grab them on the side. Like you'd bind them with twine, you'd pick them up one in each hand and take them to where you needed to go, whether it was a wagon, whether it was the threshing field floor or whatever. And so, but he goes, but mine stood upright, and behold, your sheaves stood around mine. So he goes, all of our sheaves, all of a sudden they stood up on end. He goes, and then yours bowed down to mine. And it's like, oh, okay, great. So Joseph, let's see. We don't really like you. Now Dad gives you a fancy coat. We really don't like you. Now you have a dream, And his brother says, what? You think you're going to reign over us? Remember, all these brothers are older than him. Joseph was the second to last child born. Benjamin is born at this point, but Benjamin is a child, like a baby even possibly still. He might be under the age of 2 or 3 because there's a huge gap between Joseph and Benjamin. And at this point, Benjamin's just very, very much a child. And he says, shalt thou indeed reign over us, or shalt thou indeed have dominion? And they hated him yet the more for his dream. So they didn't like him. Then Jacob gives the coat. Now they hate him, and they can't even ever say anything nice about him. Now it's escalating to the dream level where he's telling him about the dreams. He says, this is really weird. I don't know what this is talking about, but this is what I've been dreaming. Like, yeah, and now we hate you even more because you are such an awful person. And then he dreamed yet another dream and told it to his brethren and said, behold, I dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. Now he goes to his dad and says, and he's telling it to his dad, and his dad's like, his dad rebuked him. In verse 10, Dad rebuked him and said, what is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? Jacob's like, come on, Joseph, I love you, you're awesome. But keep in mind now, even his father, who favors him and loves him and wants him to be the best, like he's exalted him himself. And even he's like, whoa, Joseph, slow down here. What are you doing? And his brothers envied him, but his father observed the same. Even though Jacob rebuked him, Jacob still went, Also, in that clip that we saw of Joseph and the Amazing, which I may have to cut out because after the live stream, I may have to cut it out of the replay. So go to the Shows Must Go On channel if you want to see, and it's the Joseph cut of Code of Color, just because of copyright stuff and everything. But his brothers envied him, but his father observed the saying. When the word observed here, let's look at that word, 8104. Let's go to 8104. Go to our lexical aid to the Old Testament, which obviously it's right at the end. Let's see here, 8177, 8104. Where is it? 81, 80, 80, 80. 8104. To hedge around something as with thorns, to keep or to guard, to watch, to retain, to protect. Jacob still says, I'm going to keep this in my heart. It's almost like when Mary in the New Testament, when she's told about Jesus' birth, that what she's carrying is the Messiah, she kept all these things and pondered them in her heart. It's the same feeling here from this verse. When it says he observed, what it actually is saying is he kept them, he remembered them, he tucked them away into a part of his heart for reference later. It's like he's saying, all right, Joseph, you need to be careful. Don't get too full of yourself. But he's kept all that information in his heart. And he's like, okay, I wonder. So that's what we are on today. And that's where we end for today. Because the next story is a whole story in and of itself, and that goes on for the rest of the chapter. So tomorrow we will be here. I will either pre-record it tonight and put it out for you guys for tomorrow, or I will be here live again right around 7 o'clock to do the next section of the next part of Joseph's story. Because Joseph's story goes for quite some time. Just like Abram's, who became Abraham, just like that story went for quite a while, Joseph is going to be a similar key figure, which is interesting because we understand why because Abraham was the father of the Israelite nation. Joseph is not the father of the Israelite nation. nor is the tribe that Joseph comes from more significant than any other. Like, what his tribe, the tribe of Joseph, did not become more significant than any of the others. I mean, it's not like he's Levi who became the Levites. So this is what's kind of interesting. Nor is he Judah, which is where the king came from eventually. So it's interesting. The tribe of Joseph. No, so why is Joseph so significant? Well, you're going to see why as we work through the story. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And if you do have any comments, please drop them in the live chat. And or drop them in the chat. I always respond to comments. I don't respond always within one day because if I'm super busy that day, but I usually by the end of the evening or a day or two later, I'm checking all for comments to see if there are any comments because I want to make sure I answer your questions. So if you have any questions about this section, but remember, Joseph is only 17 years old, maybe 18 or 19 by the time all these things happen in this first section. But still, at the beginning of this, he's 17. And so he's really a very, very young adult in this section. And we are just beginning Joseph's amazing journey. And we'll see where he goes from here. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye for now.
Was my cry at dark midnight was my cry. Was my cry at dark midnight was my cry. Give me Jesus.